Hey everybody, Weston here with the Hidden Gibbon. And you know what? Commander isn't my favorite format, despite the fact that my entire channel pretty much revolves around Commander, because it is the largest format and I do have so much fun playing it with my friends and people on Spell Table and at my local LGS, but it's not my favorite format. That honor actually goes to Legacy. Legacy is a format that very much, at one point in time, was the flagship format of all of Magic the Gathering. It was bigger than Standard. It was bigger than Modern. It was, well, anything was bigger than Extended. It was bigger than Vintage. And during its golden era, there were decks galore. 12 plus decks. I could rattle off decks all day. And, you know, it still exists, but not in my area. I have nowhere to play Paper Legacy. It's extinct. As far as I know, in the state of Iowa, I have not even heard of a Legacy event in years. And so the only place you can play it is Moto, and I'll be honest with you, I can't do Moto. I really can't, friends, because it looks like it's from 1995, and it's just non-intuitive. Or I have to travel a really long way away to play. So what happened to Legacy? And what was it like playing Legacy back in the day? Because, oh my God, friends, it was so fun. It was so great. And how is Commander, kind of related to Legacy now? So let's get right into it. So, what was Legacy? Well, when I first started playing Magic, Legacy may have existed. I don't know. I didn't learn about Legacy until after quite a few years of playing in the we're gonna say mid 2000s, before 2010 though. We played Magic at the local theater where I worked. A bunch of us would sit down with our kitchen table decks and play. Gradually, we started getting better and better at the game. And at some point in time, I can't remember if it was my friend Dewey or my friend Jason, they brought up that there was Legacy, an official format being played at Critical Hit Games in Iowa City. It was a card store that existed in a strip mall. It still exists to this day, but in a different location. So we all drove down there and we carpooled in, and I played some, we're gonna call it an early ancestor to what eventually became my zoo deck. It had Gebzen Ogre in it, River Boa. I didn't have duels. I had Curd Ape in it, things like that. And we went down there, and it was free. It was a free tournament. And you know what the prize support was back then, friends, from Critical Hit Games? It was packs of alliances, which, for the record, I opened 3 Force of Wills in my prize packs of alliances throughout playing tournaments there. And they were free. It was awesome. It was this small format, and we started playing, and I got my ass handed to me on a silver platter quite a few times in those early days. But then I started evolving, just like my friends did. Dewey has played the same deck since he started playing Magic, some form of blue-white control. Started out with Sarah Angel, and when we eventually evolved to having real Legacy decks to go to these tournaments, I played Zoo. For those of you who don't know, Zoo was a deck that revolved around cards like Step Links, Solid Pride Mage, Curd Ape, Lightning Helix, Lightning Bolt. I believe Pyroclasm was in the deck. Taiga, Plateau, Savannah were all in the deck. Use fetch lands to just beat face. Wild Nactyl was in the deck as well. My friend Dewey, he started out on blue-white green control. He had Nantuko Monastery, Humility, Standstill. He was playing Landstill. My friend Mitch, he would play Dragonstorm. Jason, he would play anything from Charbelcher to Dredge to Turbofog. But as we started going to these tournaments, we decided one of these times that we were going to go to a Star City Games 5K and a GP because Legacy was up and coming in those. And we started traveling all over the country for them. I didn't make it to the one in Chicago, but I made it to Indianapolis. I made it to Louisville. There was even a GP in Iowa, but I maintain that one was set up to fail because it was set up for Easter Sunday, of all things, and didn't do very well as a result, right? And it's also Iowa, let's be real. Minneapolis, SCGs in St. Louis, and all these other places. I even had one where I got deck tacked, and I'll actually do a video about that where Star City Games deck tacked me on it because I had a whole altered deck. But eventually, Zoo kind of fell by the wayside. Couldn't compete. I was struggling in tournaments. My biggest moment of shine was we were at a 5K in St. Louis actually, and I kept a 1-land hand and managed to beat my opponent on turn 3 or turn 4 with Steplings. Oh man, that card was fun back in the day, let me tell you, friends. But I was struggling. So then there was one day we were going to go down to the local Iowa City tournament, and Mitch and Dewey, I met at Dewey's apartment, and they're like, hey, have you heard of this new 12 post deck? And I'm like, no, I haven't heard of it. They're like, it's really cool, it's really fun. And they gave me a generic list for it, and we threw as many of the cards together as we could. I think I was running 3 Primeval Titans, 1 Emrakul, 1 Ulamog, 1 Kozilek. It was janky. We had Expedition map in there, some Explorers, etc. And we went down to the Iowa City tournament, and I absolutely obliterated that tournament. I went, I believe, 4-0 4-0. Won the tournament just straight out. Didn't even lose a game with this jank deck, and that is what solidified me on what, to this day, I still keep together. Legacy 12 post. And that is the deck that I played for years and years and years. And, it's the deck that I will play again, even if it gets stomped into the ground, because 12 post is my favorite deck of all time. It is a beautiful thing. And for those of you who kind of want to see what deck I have built for 12 post, at the end of this video, I will tag the deck tech I did for 12 post on there. But the core gist of it is you play Cloud Post, you get a bunch of those in, you copy it with Vesuva, you add some Glimmer Posts and stuff like that. You use Primeval Titan to get out a bunch of lands, then you use your Eye of Ugin to get Emrakul the Aeon's Torn, Flying Spaghetti Monster if you will, and then you just have Magical Christmas land all over your opponents. It is susceptible to Wasteland, and some things that I did is I ran cards like Teferi's Response, which countered the Wasteland ability, blew them out, and let me draw cards. Terra Eternal when I tried a white-green version of 12 post, but the version I ultimately settled on was blue-green. And I know traditionally it is a mono-green deck, but I enjoyed blue-green because it allowed me access to 2 cards that I really love, Force of Will and also Phyrexian Metamorph. And so Phyrexian Metamorph, can copy a creature or an artifact, and Force of Will is a counterspell. And the deck was fun. I didn't win every game I ever played, but every single match I ever had, I got better and better and better. And then, a lot of my friends moved away, and we stopped going to a lot of the Legacy tournaments. And Legacy was already showing cracks at this point in time. The format, when we started, was the second most expensive format in Magic, obviously behind Vintage, because Vintage had Power 9. But when I started playing Legacy, the expensive dual land was Underground Sea at $60, and Gaia's Cradles were $35, Savannahs were $25 to $35. I bought my Candelabra of Thanos, 2 of them, each for about $75. But as the years went on, and as Commanders started growing in popularity, and as reserve list cards naturally dwindle, prices crept up a little bit there to where, Underground Seas were shockingly like $120 to $150, and that was a lot back then. And like I said, Legacy started to show its cracks at that point in time. The reserve list was starting to kill Legacy. And then we all know what happened in 2020. 2020 came around and COVID hit. And something very strange happened in the Magic the Gathering world. People started treating the reserve list less as, oh, hey, I got to get these cards, and then I'm going to play with them in an eternal format like Legacy or like Vintage. And they started treating it like an investment vehicle. And since then, this is what really truly spiked prices. Even before Commander started spiking prices, this event is what spiked prices. I watched these prices spike immensely. I watched people treat the game I love as an investment vehicle. And this spiking in prices further made it so newer players couldn't get into the game, right? Proxies aren't allowed in official Wizard-sanctioned tournaments. And since proxies aren't allowed, you know, what there used to be, like, I was a high school kid when I started playing Legacy. My job when I started playing was $5.15 an hour. $5.15 an hour. Eventually it went up to $7.25, where it still is to this day. You know, that says something right there, by the way. It's been $7.25 in my state since like 2009 or 8. But you see, for back then, those cards were expensive for me when Gaia's Cradle was $35, $120 for an Underground Sea. But then when they started getting $300, $400, how many people can realistically afford to build a deck where the mana base alone is $3,000, $4,000? Then you add in the other cards. And this, in conjunction with COVID, essentially completely imploding constructed play outside of a digital format such as Moto or Spell Table, webcam tournament games. Completely imploded. And Legacy never really recovered from that. It's a very niche format now. Like I said, I think it's extinct in my state. I have not heard of a Legacy event in the state of Iowa since COVID. There might be one at a small game store, but I haven't seen it. Not in a very, very long time. And it makes me profoundly sad. And the sad thing is I don't think Legacy can ever come back. Not with the reserve list there. Now, let's hypothetical here. Say tomorrow we wake up, Wizards is like, guess what, y'all? You invested in all these cards? Well, they're going to zero because we're getting rid of the reserve list and we're announcing a massive printing set where we're going to mass produce dual lands and all but the power 9 on the reserve list. You're going to get your tabernacles, you're going to get your moats, you're going to get your candelabras, you're going to get your Mishra's workshops, all of those things flood into the market, mass produce. And I mean print them at rare, uncommon, etc., like duels at rare, coming in precons, etc. Just mass produce. Say that happens. I think that is the only way you see Legacy come back. And I'm telling you, I've played every format in Magic the Gathering. Every single format. Other than Vintage, I should say. And the one that I think truly encapsulates the very best that Magic can do is Legacy. Legacy has more deck diversity. It doesn't have the rotation instability of Standard. It doesn't have the absurd amount of bans that Modern gets. Now, Modern doesn't get as many as it used to, but there used to be a joke in Modern when it was a newer format that it was ban everything until Wild Nactil was the strongest card in the format and then ban it. And guess what, friends? Wild Nactil got banned for a while. It got banned. 12th Post got banned out of Modern. This was actually why I started making the deck. It was for Modern. But we played it at Legacy. And the deck diversity was so great. I like no other format, constructed format like 1v1, had as much deck diversity as Legacy. On the top of my head, I can list decks like Team America, Tempo Thresh, Cephalid Breakfast, Spanish Inquisition, Quinn the Eskimo, Painter Servant Grindstone, the Epic Storm, Dragonstorm, Landstill, Miracle, Stoneblade, Cawblade, Elves, Goblins, Merfolk, 12 Post, Maverick, Zoo, Dream Halls, Belcher, Sneak and Show, Mud. See, I can just keep going. Rug Delver. And because it was so popular and there were so many people playing it, it made so much room for deck diversity. Now, when I talk to Dewey, who still plays it on Moto, most of the time it's whittled down to just a few decks because the events are so small that that's what people look at for the meta. You don't see those other decks. Oh, I forgot another one. High Tide. Who can forget High Tide? That's the damn deck that made my Candelabras go from a $30 card to a $70 card. It wasn't 12 Post. 12 Post was always a B tier deck at best. I could win tournaments with it, especially like local tournaments at different game stores, mostly because I was a very good pilot of the deck. I played the deck so much that I knew how to beat most of my bad matchups. But that's a tangent. Sorry. But yeah, like there was so much deck diversity, so much like fun Magic. And I have never, not even in Commander, had as much fun as when I'm sitting across from my opponent. I'm locked in on my 1.5 hours of sleep. And I just absolutely, I windmill slam that turn 1 plateau into step links. Turn 2, play another step links, crack fetch, smash in with the first step links. Turn 3, drop another fetch land, crack that fetch land, smash in, just like absolutely peak Magic the Gathering. And then burning out my opponents with things like Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning. Those were in the deck as well. Never have I had so much dynamic gameplay. Now, what happened to all the people who played Legacy? Because there were a lot of us that played Legacy. Like I said, at one point in time, it was like the flagship format for all of Magic the Gathering. Well, look no further than Commander. Commander is where many, many Legacy players went when their format collapsed. It's where I went when my format collapsed. I was able to take my collection of old cards, my very vast knowledge of playing the game for a long time, and mechanical knowledge from having played a competitive format at a competitive level, and applying that to a social game. And I actually see this effect really take hold in my friends group every single time that we play Magic. I can see the difference between when I sit down in a pod with my friends Jason and Mitch and Dewey or John or Chuck, and when I sit down in a pod with folks who have learned the game on Commander. When we sit down, when it's my friend group and I, where we are old tournament grinders, well, we sit down, there's not a whole lot of politicking, to be honest with you. We all laser focus on threat assessment, what we want to do, etc. Mitch and myself, we know what we have to do to win, but a lot of times, both of us actually pull our punches to lose. That's a Commander behavior. But at the core, we lock in and we do it. And honestly, I think CDH might be a home for a lot of those old Legacy players. And I've thought about it myself. If the format can get figured out and streamlined a little bit better, I very well might play CDH. I would like to see the format diversify greatly. I like if CDH had a competitive like deck amount that Legacy did at its height, I would be there every time. And CDH is proxy friendly, which means it would be able to be accessible to all players. This is partially me advocating for CDH, I suppose. But we all, like a lot of players, went to Commander. Those who didn't, like my friend Dewey, he pretty much exists in the fringes of Magic play, right? He plays on Moto, he plays Legacy there, he plays in the small events that happen with that. And then there are people who hung up their hat. They stopped playing. They didn't touch Magic again. Their decks sit and collected dust. And honestly, that was me for a little while. I have said in quite a few videos, I sold my original collection. I sold my I had 4 candelabras. I had 3 play sets of every duel. I had like 12 ancient tombs. I had Mox diamonds. I had Lion's Eye diamonds. Oh my god. I had like 40 Wheel of Fortunes. I had this massive collection, partially due to Legacy, and then also partially due to this new up-and-coming fringe format. EDH is what it was called back then. Elder Dragon Highlander, before it was called Commander. And it was Commander which got me back into Magic. Nowadays, I play Commander and I play pre-release. That's essentially all that exists in my area. Occasionally, there's Draft at one of my local game stores. But Modern's rare. It does exist at Dark Vassal Gaming. Shout out to them in Cedar Falls. They are a wonderful game store. Give them some patronage of their online store if you so choose. But there isn't Standard. Legacy doesn't exist in this area. And so, yeah. Well, this video's gone on long enough. Like I said, I absolutely loved Legacy. And if the format ever got revived, I'm like getting emotional. That's how many good memories I have of the format. If the format was ever revived, I can guarantee you that I would be there playing Legacy every single time there was an event in my state. I wish I lived in a more populous area, because I know from watching channels like that Mill guy, he's got Legacy in his area in Toronto. I don't live in Toronto. I live in a state of 3 million people. The whole state. There are counties in my state that have 5,000 people in them. There ain't no Legacy happening here in Iowa. But let me know what you think about this in the comments down below. Did you play Legacy? Have you ever played Legacy? Is it a format that you could see really, really challenging you and making you a better player? Do you think that, like I surmised, that most Legacy players found a home in Commander? Is Magic better than it was with Legacy not being as healthy of a format, not being as prevalent as a format? And if, say tomorrow, it came back, would you play Legacy? Would you sit across from my 12-post deck and sleeve up? You're probably going to play Delver and blow me out with triple Wasteland, but, you know, that's fine. That's the roll of the dice there. Let me know. And as always, I am Weston with the Hidden Gibbon, and I hope you have a wonderful day.